guys, welcome. Happy Tuesday. It is June 17th, and hopefully, you guys are coming home from a good day of work. If not, you're at the replay game. Both are appreciated. Let me get the presentation up for you guys really quick, and then we'll get into the show. My computer downloads. Please like this video. Much appreciated when you do. If you want, go ahead and like it for my birthday because the replay game will be seeing this on my birthday more than likely. All right, let's see. Boom. All right, so this week we're going to be talking about Obamacare and how it's going to be getting more expensive for any of us who are on it, and I am one of those. I had a feeling this is going to happen. Number one, because things always go up. They rarely go down. Number two, because this administration isn't really friendly to healthcare for more people than not. So I had expected this, but now I have some more details and I wanted to share it with you all. Next thing we want to talk about is that Trump's tax bill has been updated in the Senate. When we first got introduced to it, it was in the House. They transferred over there, and the Senate is like, okay, this is what we want. Now it's going back to the House before it can be finally approved. And then I'm going to be closing out talking about how credit scores are down from student loans being reported as default or non-payment. So my first question that I want to ask you guys is, how many people do you know that are using Obamacare? You already know one because it's, you know me, but think about that. How many people do you know that uses the Affordable Care Act, as Obamacare is also known as? I will say, since Obamacare has come into light about at least 10 years ago, I think at this point, I didn't really know anybody, at least out loud. Maybe there are people around me that had it, but I didn't know any. But in my immediate, I now know two people. One of them is me, and the other one is someone in my family. And that is just signs of the times. Like before that, I used to be employed, or I was under my mother's insurance up until 26. And then I got my first big girl job at 26. And when I left at 35, I was so happy that Obamacare was available to me. Had it not been available to me, I would have bit the bullet and paid for it, because unfortunately, how I was raised, we don't play about healthcare. You are your biggest asset. So we pay for it as long as we can afford it. Even if it seems like it's a little bit more expensive, we're going to pay for it. But Obamacare in 2024 gave 21.4 million people health insurance. And the aim is to help those that are underinsured. So people who are unemployed. Before Obamacare, you were, pardon my French, asked out. You did not have health insurance unless you paid for it, and you could buy it through the private network. But Obamacare is considered a public network that the government is offering that was never there before. It also helps sicker people in the sense that if you have diagnosed conditions before you apply, you cannot be denied. That was a big sticking point for it being approved, because back in the day when there was no other options and you can only do it through the private network, they could deny you if you had cancer already, if you had mental disorders, whatever they want. If you had a diagnosis, you were, again, up a creek without a paddle. And then for lower income people, right? Because again, health insurance, I remember when I was in grad school, I got health insurance in my 20s. I was like 22, 23, 24, and it was $150 at that point. So imagine what it is when you're 29. It's going to be $250. And I'm pretty sure at my age right now, which will be 38 in 2 days, when I was shopping for Obamacare, without the subsidy, those things were like $650. Super expensive. And Obamacare has been a blessing for a lot of people. But I found out from this article from the CNBC, a lot of people that it helped are entrepreneurs, people who are venturing out and daring to be their own boss, which makes sense. Before Obamacare, they would just have to go through private, but now you're able to afford a little bit more. And if you're an entrepreneur, you can write off on your taxes. And then people like me, hospitality workers. So people who work in hotels, who work in bars, who work in restaurants. A lot of us don't get 40 hours a week. So those are people who have largely benefited from it since it's been incepted probably a decade ago. Obamacare has been proven to increase better healthcare outcomes. One good thing that they do is they give free preventative screenings, like your wellness exam every year, every 2 years. They see the benefit of preventative care, which as a former healthcare licensed professional, I will agree. It's better to treat something when it's small than when it's really large and intractable and possibly devastating to the person. They also do screenings, like for women to get your pap smear, like for men and women, get your colonoscopy, get your mammogram, stuff like that. It also increases the availability of vaccines, and that was especially important in 2020 when we had the COVID-19 outbreak. You were able to get vaccines before that, but it was a good thing that we had that in place because it wasn't as much mayhem as it could have been. So Obamacare has grown tremendously. It has grown from 12 million in 2021 to 24.2 million this year. But the Biden era subsidies are set to expire in 2025. And this new tax bill that they are trying to pass is not giving much of a damn about the Obamacare subsidies, and they're looking like they're going to let them expire. What Biden did through the Inflation Reduction Act is that he was able to pass something that allowed premiums to be decreased. And if you were lower income, you paid 0% of your monthly income. And I think it was under like $40,000. And if you were higher income, you were capped at 8.5% of your income being your medical monthly premium. So I'll give an example of myself. Hi, East Boogie. Good evening to you as well. Thanks so much for faithfully showing up to the show. I appreciate it. But like for my example, in 2024, when I first started it, after I put in all my numbers, they told me I only had to pay $40 a month. And then 2025, this year, I'm paying $58 a month. So it's like pretty much $60. And I was a little salty, but I was like, girl, stop being salty. You have a nerve. Like $60 for healthcare, you can't beat that. Now in 2026, I don't know, but when it was $60, I was like, next year I should probably plan for like, honestly, 150. I'm hoping like 100 to 150. That's what I'm hoping for. But I will not know until December when I try to apply again. But how it's working now with this new tax bill, if they get their way, anybody who is making above $62,000 for one person households, they will get no subsidy. And anybody who is in a 4-person household that makes more than 128, let's say $1,000 a year, you don't get a subsidy. The good thing is, for 2026, I still should be under $62,000 unless my side hustles blow the hell up. But at that point, if I'm making that much money, I won't mind spending a little bit more. And then I can do write-offs. So it'll kind of negate all the things that are rising. But beforehand, it was like it would be, you could make 40, you could make more and still not have to pay as much. And because of what's going on with the tax bill and the Republicans trying to pass it, they are expecting, because it's going to get more expensive, enrollment's going to go down by 8 million people. And I mean, I know it's still a priority for me. I'm going to enroll, hopefully, because it could be worse, but it essentially means that cost is up, and people who are young and healthy, they're probably going to forfeit it. I would say at least people who are 35 and below who are healthy, more, and even more so men, because men don't like to go to the doctor anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong, but y'all don't be liking to go to the doctor. And if you're healthy, I understand, like, what's the real point? And you could probably just budget $1,000 and still go to your healthcare provider, still get some blood work done, and know your baseline of your health, right? And maybe say $500 for like going to an urgent care situation. 2 Republicans do want to save it though, and that is Susan Collins from Maine and Murkowski from Alabama. But those are only 2 Republicans out of like the 52. So I don't know how that's going to work. this is a good segue to go into the new tax bill, because last time I talked about it, the House has sent it to the Senate. Now the Senate has put it through their finance committee, and they have basically put down the gauntlet of what they will accept to pass it through that chamber. And there are a couple different facets. So the first one I'm going to talk about is taxes, like our income taxes. What they are saying is that they are going to keep the current federal tax brackets as they are. They are going to increase the standard reduction, which most people will think that's good, because the majority of income taxpayers do not itemize their deductions. So they're going to take the standard reduction, which has gone up significantly, but also has the cost of living and inflation. So it started, when I can remember, it was like $12,000. Now it's about to be almost $16,000. They're getting rid of personal exemptions. They're just getting rid of those. And all of these changes are going to be permanent. When Trump did this after he won in 2016, they had sunsets, which means they expired. And this is why they're trying to get it through this year, because his initial one is set to expire at the end of this year. Another thing that he campaigned on and put in the bill and sent to the House, which is now the Senate, is that he wants to get rid of taxes on tips. And the Senate was like, well, hell to the no. What we will do, though, is we will allow a deduction for some of those taxes up to a certain amount. And that amount is $25,000. As a server, I don't know how that works. It could help me. I don't know. I will ask my accountant, and she will definitely make it work for me if she can. Deductions for overtime, you can get that, but only up to $12,500. And I think this is kind of cool. Auto loan interest deduction, because y'all, I'm in the market for a car in a few years, at least to the end of this year. And if that can work out for me, I will take it. And this is a situation where they do have sunsets, and these will all end in 2028. Which I guess they're going to try it out to see if it's favorable. People are liking it, and reassess at the next tax bill. I'm going to put a comment up. If you haven't already, guys, please like this video. Much appreciated. It is free to do so. Boop. So other things that the Republicans Senate did to update this bill is, as far as Medicaid is concerned, they are pretty much on the same page of gutting Medicaid. They are doing something that is going to basically decrease the provider taxes in those states. So basically, when the states go to get reimbursed federally, they're not going to get as much money back. The Senate Finance Committee also says that they want certain direct hospital payments to be cut immediately. And y'all, that's really going to mess with hospitals. And that's going to mess with hospitals in rural places, which they were struggling anyway. So this is really bad for people. It's going to cause like a traffic jam in healthcare. And we didn't need that anywhere. Healthcare is hanging on by a string. And especially if you know anybody who lives in a rural area, you know how far it is to get resources, basic resources. And a lot of these hospitals are projected to shut down if this were to happen, which is very sad. Another thing that they implemented is that adults have to prove that they're working, they're in school, or they're doing at least 80 hours of community service a month if they have kids who are over 14 years or older. So all adults without kids, or if they have kids that are like older where you don't have to mind them in the house all the time, you need to be working, you need to be in school, or you need to be doing community service. I think theoretically it works. We will see. If it passes, we will see. I mean, with all these changes, there are 3 Republican senators that want to save Medicaid. That's Susan Collins from Maine, Josh Hawley from Missouri, and Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. That's 3 people. I don't know how much their votes are going to sway everybody else, but that's where we're at right now. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the green energy cut. So Biden, during his administration and his tax bills that he had during his time, he did a lot of green energy credits. But the Senate, now that the Republicans are powder, they're pretty much rolling that out. They're not doing it immediately, but they are tapering it. And as every year goes by, you get less credit on your taxes. And by 2028, you're going to get nothing. And I think before this was even put into place, Biden's green energy credits were set to be there until 2032. So that's 4 years that the Republicans are going to be able to cut out if this does pass. The only thing is that the Senate's version is more expensive, oddly, and they were expletive about how expensive it was. Particularly one of the senators, Rand Paul, I think he's from Tennessee. He was like, I'm not doing this because it's irresponsible fiscally and stuff like that, which I agree. And the Senate's version is $5 trillion, but the House's version would only cost us $4 trillion over a certain amount of years. I don't know. So now it has to go to the House. They have to fight it out, and then it has to be approved by both of them, and then the president will sign it. Their goal is to have it signed technically by the summer, but we're in the first month of the summer. And news commentators and the media are really saying that it's probably going to be passed more so by the end of the year. We'll see. I will keep y'all updated because I am curious, like if it's going to ping pong between everything, you know? So what do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. What do you think about it being more expensive? What do you think about how it's going to mess up healthcare in the rural areas? What do you think about the fact like income taxes for us personally is going to do better? Like those are all things that are on the table now. The next thing I want to talk about is that we got a report from Yahoo Finance highlighting how American spending is going. And I think it's particularly interesting just because we're going along in this administration, and there's been a lot of things about people being scared of the economy, scared for their jobs. So I think it's a good kind of measurement of how we're feeling. And ultimately, people are not shopping as much. And I put on people, I'm not shopping as much. I haven't been shopping for the whole year. I've been trying to do low spend, and I am doing low spend for the most part. I am having a little bit more fun this month because it's my birthday month. But yeah, I'm not giving anybody money, and I'm still being cheap as hell. May, the expenses were down 0.9%, which was more than they expected. That's why it made it to a Yahoo Finance's news, because in April it was only down 0.1%. I think they're expecting it to be down like 0.6, and 0.9 is more. And the article snippet said the contributing factors was that gas sales were down 2%, which I could believe. And now what's going on in the Middle East, gas is about to be super expensive. I think we got to hold our breath to see what's going on. I think we got to give it like at least to the end of June to see what's going on over there in the Middle East and how it's going to affect us. But the first thing, even if there isn't a full-blown WAR, gas is going to go up. So if you are invested in gas, y'all, anybody that energy, it's a good time to be invested in that. Not necessarily a good time to own a car though, because you got to drive for races. Car purchases were down 3.5%. I think that's a consequence of the tariffs originally. We'll see. But they've been calmed down, so maybe in June it'll get better. And then building materials were down 2.7%. I feel like, I mean, this indirectly affects me, but I wanted to say it because every one of us needs a place to live. And even though we may not be in the new housing market, like new building housing market, like those houses being built, we might be wanting to buy them in like 10, 15 years. So all of those contributed to the fact that we're not spending that much money. Not that much a surprise. Just wanted to put it out there. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was that credit scores are declining because student loans are now being reported to the credit bureaus. Remember, like at least a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, the administration said they were going to start reporting people who are defaulted. And once they do that, credit scores are going to go down. Well, the government has made good on that, and they started debt collection. And if you have 90 days of non-payment reported, you are going to be reported delinquent to the credit bureaus or past due to the credit bureaus. And the three of them that we have in America are Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And in Q1 of 2025, 2.2 million borrower scores went down. 2.2 million borrower scores went down 100 points, and 1 million borrower scores went down more than 150 points. And then anything less than 600 is considered subprime. The highest is 900. I guess 600 is bad. And I guess 600 to 700 is good. And 700 to 900 is very good. I think 600 to 700 means like you won't get like completely taken advantage of with the rates. But if you're under 600, you're looking at 14 to 20% rates, and you can complain all you want to, but they're going to say you're proving you can't pay your bills, so we can charge you high interest rates. This article from Associated Press highlighted that older borrowers are more likely to be considered delinquent, and these are people who are over 40 years old. And I can imagine this for 2 years. One of them being, if you went to college in your late teens, early 20s, and you still have that bill at 40 years old, you're going to say, to hell with this. I'm tired. I'm tired. There are other things that I'm trying to do. There are other things that have happened in my life that are more a priority. Like you probably got some little kids running around, or kids that are a little bit older, but they're not outside the house. That kids are expensive. You are dealing with everything else that everybody is dealing with like housing costs and groceries. At 40, I would be like, I don't feel like paying this bill either. That's kind of why I paid mine off. But yeah, I believed 100%, like that made sense. Because I think some people try to be good repayers of their debt in the beginning, but life, as you keep living life, you're like, well, to hell with it. Like, I'm just going to spend my money on what I want to spend at some point. Do I have that chance in this lifetime? And so I understand it. Do I necessarily agree? No, but I understand. And then non-payment of these student loans affect other areas, especially if it messes with your credit, right? Because if you have a bad credit score, that's going to mess with your family planning, either having more kids because you can't afford to get a house, or even having one kid. Car loans are more expensive for you. Home loans are more expensive for you. Getting housing is more expensive. So I understand why people be like, yeah, to hell with it. It's just all like, not necessarily fun. And then, so that's it for all the new stuff. Continuing to watch my gold. Gold is currently up 25%. At its peak, it was 27%. That's where it's green up here, where it says still up June 3rd. But today, June 17th, the current price is $3,311. It went down from the last show, but yeah, keep an eye on it. And I wanted to share it with y'all just in case y'all are interested, because y'all know in 2026, I'm trying to buy me some gold and I'm trying to buy me some cryptocurrency. And that's the wrap up. As far as I'm concerned, I knew that Obamacare was in trouble, unfortunately. And now I have the numbers ahead of me. So I'm trying to prepare myself. If you know somebody who is doing Obamacare, let them know, help them prepare so that they're not completely shocked. So maybe they can make a plan for themselves, because baby, it's going to go up regardless. It's going to go up. Because they're not going to extend anything. And at least we have 6 months to try to help ourselves. The new tax bills is still not finalized. They're probably going to finalize it by the end of the year, we're thinking. And from the show today, I just kind of highlighted that we are keeping our money in our wallets, and I'm 100% keeping my money in my wallet. East Boogie says, try and stay away from loans if you can. These lenders are charging. Yes. Oh, I'm staying away. I'm staying away. You can, at least if I do have financial problems, but at least I'm not in debt. At this point, I'm just trying to get my income up, but I don't owe anybody anything except for this house I live in. And gold is up overall. So if you have an extra couple dollars, find you an ETF for gold. Any other comments? I think it's just me and you, East Boogie. Or actually, there are 2 other people here that are being very silent, and I don't know why. We talk over here. I'll give them a minute to see if they want to say hi. And otherwise, until I see you guys next week, just keep moving forward, doing what you got to do, save your money, make sure that your money goes 2 ways instead of the normal one, and pay yourself first. Get us some savings, especially, like I said, we're giving ourselves until the end of June to see what's happening over there in the Middle East. I'm trying not to overthink anything, but yeah. Just stay safe, y'all, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. You're welcome, East Boogie. Thank you again for always supporting, and I will see you guys next week.